To sport now, Sky News presenter and host Timmy Gilbert joins me now. Timmy, a super TV deal on the way as the NRL prepares to kick off in just over 2 weeks.
Evening, Gleeso. Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it? It was funny that you mentioned homeschooling. I thought to myself, how would have I gone? I would have been absolutely rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. You would have found me outside with a football, and it's quite appropriate that the rugby league 100%. Vision comes up now. But, yeah, look, Peter Vlandys, it looks like he's knocking on the door of this long-term deal. Of course, they want to get it nutted out by the end of the week. It means an extension of both the Fox and Nine deals, and well, what Phil Rothfield wrote was basically that this gives them a watertight future. This handles the future for them, but it's not going to go without some really interesting moves. And when I say interesting moves, Peter Vlandys will have them back on wooden desks and pencils soon. That's what he did at Racing New South Wales. He came in and he said, OK, look at the largesse. We're going to rip it apart. We're going to bring it back to the bone. That has started, and we're going to see that continue at the NRL. And I think that they'll insist that at club level as well. All the wasteful spending, the inability to fiscally run the game, I think that is going to continue to come under the spotlight, Pete, over the next little while. And that includes going back to one referee, which they say will save them about $3 million. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's plenty of other things that they want to work on saving money. And look, it's very bright when you look at it in that way for the future of rugby league, as long as guys start to say, OK, I'll get a vaccination and stop riding Kawasaki's without helmets and doing TikTok dances with a bunch of girls that pop in.
Geez, we would have been hopeless with TikTok too, Timmy.
Oh,
what about the Adelaide Crows?
Yeah.
What about the Adelaide Crows training in the Barossa? What's the latest there?
Yeah, well, you and I would love the Barossa, the food and the Chateau Tanunda, goodness gracious me, but I divert away from the story. So basically they were there quarantining, and they had a training session which broke the law. Pardon me, I was just about to sneeze then. But they broke the law of quarantine and the restrictions that were in place. So they copped a heavy fine, and everyone was waiting with bated breath to see exactly what the AFL was going to do. And what the AFL's done is basically hit him with a feather. So the assistant coach that was there, he's been given a 6-week suspension, but if they get back around that June 18, June 19 mark, he's only going to miss a week. The players have got a week suspension. And Caroline Wilson on Channel 9 this evening has basically said that all the other clubs are blowing up. And you can understand why, because, I mean, every other club, I'm sure Eddie would love to get his mob down to one of the fields in Melbourne, or, you know, other clubs in Melbourne or Brisbane or wherever would have liked to have trained. And, look, the AFL's come out and said, no, they were trying to do the right thing. They didn't get any advantage. But, look, that's not going to wash with the other 17 clubs, I don't think.
Now, Timmy, Australia's Olympic boss, John Coates, he says Tokyo could be better than Sydney.
Yes, well, I can see why he's saying this. Obviously, you know, the Olympic boss is going to talk it up, but I can see where the argument is. I mean, Australia, the rest of the world, has been in this position where we've never seen it. Generationally, we haven't seen it, but over 100 years, the world hasn't been in this kind of situation, because it's not like a war, but the whole world is closed down, so to speak. So Tokyo 2020, that will be held in 2021, could well be this enormous celebration, and it will be. It's all the countries coming together under the one banner, and the Olympic Games of next year, I expect him to be right. Let's have a listen to John Coates.
I believe the Tokyo Olympics may ultimately be amongst the greatest games ever, if not the greatest. Because we're all emerging from a time of global distress, and because we must wait longer than the already long wait for an Olympics, the Games of Tokyo will gently, but perceptibly, echo the sheer joy and relief of the other delayed Olympics of Antwerp in 1920 and London in 1948.
Yeah, we're winding the clock back a bit there to Antwerp, aren't we? But what do you think, Gleeso? Yeah, look, I love the Olympic Games. I remember when my grandmother hired us.
Wily Elf.
Yeah, sorry, go.
I think he's a wily old fox. I mean, it's not going to hurt Queensland's bid for 2032, is it? By saying that, you know, all guns blazing for Tokyo. I think Sydney will go down as the greatest games in history. I don't care if we go through to the year 3500.
Oh, but I just love the Olympic Games. I just love it. I remember when my grandmother hired us at a Rank Arena colour TV in 1976 because we only had the black and white, and all six of us are there watching Montreal in Canada, you know, and all the countries, Equatorial Guinea, like it's just got that sense of magic, and I think that that's what we'll get next year.
Well, I saw John Seaborn in 1984 in Los Angeles on a Saturday morning. I had the worst hangover I've ever had in my life, and it perked me up for the rest of the day. Now, listen, speaking of perking you up, Sonny Bill Williams says he'd love to have a crack at Mike Tyson. Is he fair dinkum?
Yeah, hasn't this been a quirky old yarn? I and Mike Tyson, age 53, and, you know, Jeff Fennick quite sensibly saying, look, these football players, or look at that, goodness gracious me. I almost, you know, do my shoulder watching it, get a rotator cuff injury. But Jeff Fennick saying that, look, unless you don't want to be around to see your children grow up, don't go in the ring with Iron Mike. Well, Paul Gallen's dismissed the idea, but Sonny Bill said, oh, no, look, I looked up to him as a kid. I'd love to get the opportunity to fight Iron Mike Tyson. Wow, that's a big call, isn't it? You'd want a very effective payday to go in the ring with Iron Mike.
Oh, you'd want a massive payday, massive payday. Now, Robert Thompson, ageless, he turns 62 tomorrow. He's still going strong, arguably the greatest country jockey in New South Wales, possibly Australia. I mean, he's ridden winners all around Australia, but he's particularly good at Grafton around Ramornie time. Tell us about Robert Thompson, Tim.
Oh, he's an extraordinary figure, and when you and I were hosting Racing Dreams together, I did a story on Robert Thompson, you'll remember that, when he turned 60. And here he is, or not long after he turned 60, so here he is, 62 years of age, lives up there on a rural property near Cessnock with his wife, and just unbelievable, thousands upon thousands of wins. When you think about it, his first win at Wyong was nearly 50 years ago, because he left school at 14 and a bit of change months-wise, just so he could go in and become a jockey. Like, it was in his blood, and here he is at the age of 62 tomorrow, still riding winners. And look, as you say, a great country jockey, a great regional jockey, but also has won plenty in Sydney and, you know, big races. So Robert Thompson, this ageless, he's like a lovely Barossa red where the Adelaide Crows trained, but at 62, just phenomenal.
Yes, and I remember having something on the Jackal to win a Ramornie a few years back, and of course Robert sailed down the outside, got the chocolates. I think he might have ridden 5 winners that day.
Were you there with Miss Jacaranda? Was that era when you and Miss Jacaranda were together, or?
No. That was way after that, Timmy.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And wasn't it great to see the UFC on yesterday, Timmy? Great to see the UFC, and of course Tony Ferguson tasting a rare defeat. But I think we're starting to get back into the swing of things, mate.
Yeah, we've got a bit of South Korean soccer, we've got a bit of Belarusian soccer, we've got a bit of Chinese baseball, but the NRL in late May, I think, is everyone's targeting. Look, the AFL looking for that mid-June, and they're really desperate to get there. They're having some struggles with Western Australia and other places, but let's hope they get back too. I mean, I love my league, but I love AFL as well.
Good on you, Timmy Gilbert. Great to see you, mate.